Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 2021 series Foundation, starring Lou Lodell as Gal Dornick, Jared Harris as Harry Seldon, Lee Pace as Brother Day, Lee Harvey as Salvor Hardin, and Laura Bryn as Demer Zell. Creators Josh Friedman and David S. Goyer. Based on the Foundation series of books by Isaac Asimov. So I'm going to be talking about the last half of season 1 because I already reviewed the first 4 or 5 episodes of this season in an earlier video, and I kind of wanted to split it over my review over the seasons, over the first season. So this is a series I didn't really rush to finish. I kind of savored it a little bit, and because I really enjoyed the first season, and I think this is a pretty solid science fiction series, in my opinion. It's not as good as The Expanse. I still prefer The Expanse, but this one's pretty good. This one would probably be my number 2 series. So I'm going to talk about some of the things I liked about the second half of the season. So far, the most interesting character in this series is the character of Brother Day, and all 3 characters of the Empire. That whole storyline going on with Empire and his robotic caretaker, that girl, I find that part of the story very interesting. So that whole character is a really fascinating character, and what's going on with their story arcs and all that. That's by far, in my opinion, the most interesting thing about season 1. One of the things that I thought was very well done and I really enjoyed was the relationship between Brother Don and the woman named Azura. So now some of the other things I really liked about this season is some of the things I talked about in my first review. It looks fantastic, this series. It looks really good. You can tell they really put some money into this series. It looks very high budget. And not only that, I love the design of the series. I love all the designs. I love looking at how the ships look, how the planets look, and even the costumes, everything. I think it's a very well designed from a artistic point of view. It's a very good looking show. And when I think of all the paintings and stuff I used to see for the Foundation books, they really seem to have captured a lot of the elements from that artwork in this series. So it looks right to me. It looks good. The look of the show matches what I picture in my head when I read the Foundation books. So I'm going to get into more details about this last half of season 1. So if you haven't watched it, the whole season so far, this is going to be, I'm going to be talking spoilers now. So one of the things I found really interesting was, and I really liked this part of the storyline, was the relationship between Brother Don and the woman named Azura. So Brother Don, he ends up forming a relationship with this woman named Azura, who is a gardener at the main palace there. And the thing about Brother Don is he is a clone, but there is something about him that's not right. He is almost like a defective Cleon clone. There's something about him off that, and he's trying to hide that from his other 2 brothers, the other 2 clones, Brother Day and Brother Dusk. And one of the things that makes him abnormal is actually befriending this woman. So they become friends and they form a romantic relationship. And what I liked about this is it had a really cool twist. I did not see this coming. And so he made up his mind that he was going to escape and live his own life and escape away from the palace because he felt like he wasn't free there. And he was always living in fear that the other 2 would find out he's defective. Because if you're a defective Cleon clone, they just have you disintegrated and replaced with another one that's not defective. That's how they handle it. So he escapes with her, but then he ends up getting captured, and it turns out the whole thing was a double cross. She was just playing him and lured him into a trap with this underground resistance cell that was trying to overthrow the Empire. And their plan was they had cloned their own Brother Don, but it was one they could control, and they were going to replace the defective Brother Don with him, and then that way they could have influence on the Empire, and that way kind of topple the Empire. And so, of course, they're going to kill him, and he's very heartbroken, feels totally betrayed by this woman. And when you're watching the show, you can't help but feel for him. Because, he's a very naive, almost borderline innocent character in this season. And so anyway, he gets rescued though by Brother Dusk. They bust in there with some soldiers. They wipe everyone out and they kill this copy that they were going to use to replace Brother Dawn with. And the woman named Azura gets captured. Now, this one scene is why I find the character, especially the character of Brother Day, really interesting and very fun character to watch, is how he deals with people that double cross him. There is just, you do not cross this guy. They will come down hard on you. So this woman, Azura, is back in the gardens. He comes over and he's talking to her. And he, tells her that everyone, her resistance cell, has all been wiped out. Not only that, all her immediate family, all her extended family, all her friends, co-workers, anyone that had anything to do with her, even so much if they had sold her a pack of cigarettes, all those people, and it turned out to be like a group of like 8,000 people, they were all immediately wiped out and killed. And then all her records were erased. So there will be, he basically said, not only did you fail in your attempt, but you're going to be completely memory hold. No one will ever know about you. And I'm not going to kill you, he said. But what I'm going to do, because they have this device in the show called a shroud that they put over your head, and basically it cuts off all the senses on your head. So you can't see anything, can't hear anything. And it's just like almost like this black bag on your head. So he says, you're going to be kept alive intravenously, and you're just going to live with this rolling around in your head right up until you die, because you're going to spend the rest of your life inside of a shroud. So I thought, oh, wow, what a brutal thing to have to go through, like just put in this living hell, like what an extreme form of punishment. And I thought, like, this guy is, what's the word? He's pretty gangster. So I thought that was really cool, actually. That was very interesting. And this is why this character is like so interesting compared to all the other characters in there. Now, the other thing I find really interesting in this show that I really like the character of Demerzel, the robot woman. It's a cool character. Okay, she's a robot, and it's like this throwback from like an earlier age. The robot wars they kind of mention, but they don't really go into detail what that was. So she's like a remnant of that has been serving since the first Cleon as like a protector for the Empire. And so there's a very interesting relationship there, because she has a lot of it seems like she has a lot of interpersonal turmoil, because she has to obey them, because she's programmed to, but at the same time, it almost seems like she has her own feelings, and there's like this inner conflict going on with what she wants, but her programming to do what's best for the Empire. So I'm curious to see how all that's going to play with that robot character. And now I think my favorite episode in season 1 was the episode called The Missing Piece. And so that one, and the other thing I like about the show, has a lot of cutthroat politics going on in it. So I always like that stuff. So there's this planet, and it's almost like a planet ruled by women, and they have this religious order. And so the Empire wants to keep this planet in the fold. But there's 2 political factions on this planet, where one, she's going to seize power. If she sees power, he's not going to have control of this planet anymore, because she believes that, because they believe in reincarnation, that when you die, you're reborn into a new body. But they think the Empire is an abomination, because him and his 2 brothers, they're just copies. They're just clones. They weren't like born naturally. So they believe he's just a soulless copy. So what he does to try to, he uses their own religion against them. So Brother Day decides, they have this ritual of this long spiral in this desert-like area, that you go on a pilgrimage, and you go all the way around this spiral till you get to the center. And at the center, it's this cave with a pool inside of it. When you go in there, your soul will be revealed to you. You'll have this revelation in this water. But it's very treacherous, and most people die before they even get there. So he decides, I'm going to do this. If I can pull this off, I've got control of this planet. So he does it. He almost dies doing it. Like, he's in really rough shape when he walks this whole spiral, because he has no protection. He has no guards. His personal shield is gone. He doesn't have anything. So he walks it, and he succeeds. He makes it to the pool and gets in there. Then when he comes back, he's all beaten up and stuff, can barely stand, but he tells him, this is the revelation I had in there. I seen this flower open up in front of me, and all this is the vision I had. So they all believe him. And so anyway, then the woman that was working against him, she loses all her power. She doesn't have any more influence. He won everyone over. And just to even be more of a prick, he has his robot servant actually assassinate that woman that went up against him in the series. So yeah, he's a real brutal character, really calculating character. So that was my favorite episode, and what I really liked about it was at the end, it goes back to the robot woman. She suspects he lied about the vision he had in the pool, because when she confronts him about it, he still lies to her and said that he's seen it. But she had the exact same flower, like almost like a hologram of it, on her desk. And so that's the exact flower he described. So when he thinks back on his experience, it shows him in the pool, and he's waiting to have this revelation, but he sees nothing. Nothing gets revealed to him. Nothing happens in the pool. And it's just really interesting, the look on his face when he realizes nothing's happening. So then it's almost like, well, why did that happen? Does he have a soul? Or maybe he doesn't have a soul. So it kind of left with that question. I thought that was pretty cool. Now there's one more thing. So those are the things I liked. Now there's one thing. This isn't something that I disliked, but I thought it was something that was interesting, and it's just something I want to point out as an observation. Is they have a very obvious 9/11 allegory or comparison in this show. And it's the Sky Bridge. At the first season, the Sky Bridge gets taken out by two terrorists. It collapses, causes all this devastation. It's this huge event. It's an obvious, allegory to 9/11. It's like very on the nose. And so the Empire, their response is the two planets that were suspected to have had these terrorists, where these terrorists came from, they just send their Imperial fleets there to completely decimate these planets. It's a pretty cool looking sequence when they come up there and they just start hammering the planets with their ship blasters and stuff. But it's obvious, it's so like on the nose, like there's no way you couldn't mistake it for anything else, because obviously this is a 9/11 thing. Obviously the way they handled the planets and went and attacked them, obviously that's like an allegory for, the American foreign policy, and this is like Afghanistan and Iraq, these two planets. And then even to the point where the Foundation ends up having a confrontation with some of the survivors of that planet, because the one planet, they're kind of like a warrior race, and they come to the Foundation and they want to capture this warship, this warship that was like really powerful, but it got lost in space because there's something wrong with it. It keeps like going into hyperspace at frequent intervals, so no one can ever find it. It's kind of lost in space. They know the location of it, so they want to seize it, capture it before it disappears again, and use it against the Empire as revenge for what Empire did to their homeland. But when these guys show up, they all look like they're from the Middle East. They all have like this Middle East look. So they even went that much further to really hammer at home what they're going for in this series. So it's just an interesting observation that I find about the whole 9/11 thing. It's very interesting because sci-fi shows, ever since 9/11 happened, seems like every science fiction show that has come out since then has this type of an event in its series. So like in Enterprise, you had the Xindi attack on Earth. That was like that show's 9/11 event. That was their 9/11 allegory. Then Battlestar Galactica, obviously the attack on the colonies. And the creators even came out and said that this is their 9/11 event. And the Expanse, you have Marcos Aneros. He launches the asteroids at Earth. And when it hits, causes mass devastation, this huge terrorist attack on Earth. Same thing, that was their 9/11 event. So now it's this series, this is their 9/11 event. It kind of reminded me of a book I had read years and years ago about how to make comic strips, and it kind of went through all these different comics around the world, and one of them was Japanese comics. And it talked about what a huge impact the event of having the two atomic bombs dropped on their country had on their pop culture. Like it just keeps reverberating through all their stuff. And it's the same thing with this 9/11 thing in science fiction. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if someone did like some kind of video essay or something, like basically going through all the different times this has been done as an allegory in modern science fiction. So just an interesting observation. So now I'm going to get into things I didn't like. So again, this is like a complaint I had in the last video I made. It's the main characters, the protagonists. I find them kind of boring characters. And especially when it comes to their personal relationships, like again, Salvor Hardin and her boyfriend, again, whenever they have like a romantic scene together or some kind of like trying to evolve the relationship, it just comes to a grinding halt for me. I had no interest in that. Like when it's them like building the foundation and dealing with the overall story arc of the rise and fall of the civilization, that part is interesting. But just like the protagonists themselves, I find kind of on the boring side, not really all that interesting. So I'm hoping that's something that gets fixed in the next season. And it seems like maybe it will, the way the series ended, because I think some of the characters might be gone in season 2. Hopefully, anyway. Especially the boyfriend. I found that relationship really dull and boring. So that's like maybe like the weak spot of the series. And it's kind of odd because I don't exactly know what it is. It's just something about it, the characters, I can't get into it. But it's something I really can't put my finger on. But overall, I think this is a pretty solid science fiction series. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do in season 2. So that's everything I got to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.